I grew up in Ohio. Antrim, Ohio is where I grew up. Actually, if I backtrack a little bit, well, when I was born, I moved to Antrim, Ohio. Then our family moved to New Concord, Ohio for just a couple months to live in. My dad had built a house there and it didn't sell right away. And we ended up moving in there for a couple of years. And then he started building our home in Antrim. But in that transitional time, we lived in a couple different houses until it was finished in 2000, actually the year 2000. We moved in there, and then the rest of my growing up years were spent in that house in Antrim, Ohio. Moved to Antrim, and I remember my youngest 4 siblings being born and helping take care of them as well. And I, honestly really enjoyed it. I loved when Mom had a baby. I thought it was a lot of fun to help her. Mm-hmm. And it was just so fun to have a newborn in the house. We would fight. We'd get home from school and we would literally on our drive home from school, we'd already have a list, not a list, that's not the word I'm looking for, but we would have a lineup of who could hold the baby first, who's next, take turns because we'd fight over that. So yeah, which also I went to a small private Christian school. And I didn't know anything different, but I think as I got older, and I also grew up Mennonite. I forgot to mention that as well. Very conservative Mennonite. So we made our own dresses and made our own clothes. And we also wore, as a 6-year-old girl going to school, I had to start wearing a head covering. And like I said with school too, it's I didn't know anything different. But as I grew older, I don't know, it got harder and harder to be that. And I think some of the reasons were our family in some ways wasn't fitting into the church, but also me personally, my personality is pretty strong. Mm-hmm. I'm a girl. I have opinions and I'll share them. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times Mennonite girls are more seen as if they should be quieter and not make a big entrance and just maybe be more submissive than leaders. And I didn't fit that mold super well. And so heading into my teenage years were a lot of turbulent times for me. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm now 29. I think that when I look back on that time for so long, I just would hate myself a little bit for who I was during that time, especially how I treated my family and my parents in particular. I really struggled with my mom. My relationship with my mom was pretty rough. And it also with my dad, but it was definitely worse with my mom. We just butt heads a lot.
Why was that?
Well, I think one reason is we were quite a bit different in a lot of ways. Me and my mom's personalities were different. But I think what I realized recently was I didn't feel like I was being heard, or I didn't feel like I could even be myself. And I think that is due to the church that I was in, and I reacted out of that. But I thought it was until recently, I just thought that was me being a hormonal, annoying teenager. I think now that I'm older, I realize the pressures from the church and that community that I was in were maybe making me react in some of those ways, and I took it out on my family. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like it's given me, I've apologized to my parents, of course, for being that way, but also I think it's given me a little more grace on myself, forgiveness for myself maybe, because like I said, it was just like I'd look back and I'd be so embarrassed and maybe like feel guilty or shameful. But giving myself a little more grace and forgiveness for understanding that it was like the pressures of the community that I was in, they were trying to make me be somebody that I don't feel like God created me to be, in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And so, yeah, I feel like that's something I just learned more recently, though, and it's kind of been a cool learning. So I feel like that really just put me in a rough spot in my teenage years. And then when I was 18 years old, our family left the Mennonite church.
Okay.
And I think it was not a surprise to us. We knew that our dad was unhappy, and we didn't feel like our family had fit in for quite some years. Like, we had been talking about it for a long time, and our dad was just like really worried about us kids and other people. It's like really hard to leave something like that. So it didn't come as a surprise. But what was really hard for me was it was a big loss of community, just like something I had known my whole life. And I had youth group. I had just graduated from school.
Okay.
I didn't really know what I wanted to do next with my life.
Okay.
And then it was also like, we're not going to this church.
Yeah.
We're not seeing these people that often. It was hard.
Okay.
Really, really hard.
Yeah.
But it's weird because I knew I wanted it, and I was like happy that my parents were wanting to leave the church. But at the same time, like, something that is been your whole life it's so familiar to you. It's actually kind of a comfort, even though it might not be right, or it might not be what's good for you. It's still so comforting that I think that is what's hard, is really kind of just change. And change can be really hard. It's like really good, but it's just can be like scary and lonely. And yeah.
Okay.
Feeling like people are always seeing you differently, as being so different, when you feel like you're very similar to them in ways too, I think.
Yeah.
And so I think I also, like, we left the church, and even though it was really hard, I could be more who, like, I feel like I was created to be.
Okay.
And when I could be more of who I was created to be, that's when I'm the happiest, right?
Of course.
And so maybe in those ways too, I became a happier person, or easier to live with, because I was like feeling like my purpose and was actually being used, and was, not always being like shoved down or seen as bad. Yeah. There's more space for it, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, are you still Mennonite?
That's a great question. Okay. You know, I think of Mennonite, for me, Mennonite is a culture, and I just like want to consider myself still Mennonite because I love the values the Mennonites hold, in particular, the pacifism. Wow, it's a hard word for me to say. But just like wanting to live in peace and harmony with our neighbors,
Okay.
with everybody.
Okay.
I think our neighbors are everybody, but
Yeah.
so just like taking a stance of trying to get along, trying to come to peace with everybody. I always wanted to have that lifestyle. That to always be a part of my lifestyle. And the other thing I really like about the Mennonites, and that I still want to hold true to to that part of me, is a simple way of life, like
Mhm.
not needing a lot of things, not needing a lot of money,
Mhm.
um, giving to anybody that asks, just really seeing people as Jesus saw them. I just feel like the Mennonite culture is like so like welcoming and warm to the community, and I love that. And then the last thing I'll say with that is that I want to hold is like family is so important.
Okay.
I think just like spending good time, quality time with your family,
Mhm.
and helping your family when they need help, taking care of each other, being there for each other. I now live in Washington State, which is pretty far from my family in Ohio. And
Okay.
I can sometimes feel guilty, I think, but in reality, like I really love my family, and I think they're so important to me, whether I'm living right next to them or I'm far away. They're still
Mhm.
the most important thing to me. But all that to say, I still consider myself Mennonite in the culture of it. But if you ask my grandparents, they
Okay.
would tell you I'm not Mennonite.
Okay.
And that would be a lot of the life choices they feel like I've made, especially I'm not conservative Mennonite.
Okay.
And so you can see that in my appearance. I no longer wear the head covering
Mhm.
or make my own clothes. So I am not Mennonite in the sense that I'm going to attending a Mennonite church either.
Okay.
But I think that is my culture. That's what I grew up with. There are parts of it that I love and always want to hold on to. And so
Mhm.
in that way, I feel like I'm still can be considered a Mennonite.
Mennonite. Okay.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes. I am thankful I grew up Mennonite. I actually feel like that is a huge privilege and a huge benefit for me. I will say it took me a while to get there. I remember like actually being angry at my parents for that too, but then, they left with us. But I remember being like, why did you have to bring me up in this culture, and not appreciating it. And as I got older, I appreciate it more and more and more, for sure.
Okay.
I will also say that I have some church trauma.
Okay.
Um, but I think almost anybody that grows up religious has church trauma,
All right.
whether you're Mennonite or not. It's just bound to happen.
Yeah.
And so I feel like whether I would have grown up Mennonite or any other denomination or any other religion,
Mhm.
there's always like a little bit, I think, of trauma in there. And even though there were hard things,
Mhm.
I think it was worth it, and I am thankful
You did.
in
Okay.
spite of all those things. Yeah.
Nice.
At my core of who I am is I love people, and I think that God has created us for community and to be together and to learn and to live together. And so I think at my core, I'm just really love people, and I want people to know how valued they are. And I feel like um, I get to have these like spaces that I can now create without being afraid of like, what are people going to think about me?
Mm.
Or I just don't have that fear anymore.
Okay.
That's the fear I grew up with, is like, what are people going to think about me? Or people going to judge me for this?
Mm.
And now I'm like, I know at my core what I value the most. I don't always know how it's going to play out or how it's going to look, right?
Mhm.
But I don't have that fear of like people looking at me weird. It's like, I don't care if you
Okay.
look at me weird. Like, I am confident, and I love people, and I just want people to feel loved in return. And so it's not, yeah. all wrapped up in this, like, you have to do this to be somebody, or you have to wear this to make it into heaven, or whatever those things are. It's like now it's just a lot more freedom, and I feel much more free in my spirit of like when I make decisions to like being true to who I am.
So, Kilmeny, what do you do for a living right now?
Yeah, I'm currently in social work.
Okay.
So my job title is case manager, and I work at a tiny house village, which is transitional housing, temporary transitional housing. So a lot of people that are coming into the village have been chronically homeless, and our village specifically is 55 plus or medically fragile. So those are kind of the qualifiers to get into the housing housed in the village.
Okay.
And each person has their own house, so it's like a bed with storage, and then they share a kitchen, a community space, bathrooms, showers, and a laundry room.
Okay.
And so my job is I currently have 8 clients, and my job is to meet with them at least every other week and really be a support for them as they are learning how to live in community well. Honestly, even just like learning how to take care of their space again and to live in a space. And I think it's vital for people who oftentimes are homeless on the street. They have a pretty big community of people, and a lot of times when people get housed, they're getting their own apartment, and they're finding out that they're really isolated or lonely because they're just all of a sudden stuck in this apartment. And so what I love about the village is that they're still living in community, but they do get their own space, which is important. We need our own space as well.
Okay.
So I'm there to kind of help support them and get them ready to move into their own place. But it's not like a time limit. They can stay there for as long as they need to.
Wow.
Some people, have been there for a couple of years. Other people have been there for a couple of months and then moved into housing.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's really what I'm doing right now.
That's awesome.
I love it.
You love it, yeah. That's awesome. What dreams do you have in life?
Oh, that's such a big question. 'Cause I'm kind of like a dreamer, like my dad.
Okay.
And there's so many things like I would like to accomplish in my life, and I'm 29 and haven't I feel like the cool thing is that my life trajectory so far has kept like what I value the most, like community and people at the center. So that's for sure. I want to always keep that true to myself. Along with that, one of my big dreams is a farm. So I would like it to be pretty close to town, and ideally it would be Bellingham.
Okay.
And we just have a farm, and I would love to either have tiny houses or rooms. I would like for it to, especially people that are mentally ill, be able to live there and to be able to farm. If we could have animals, I'd love to have like a mental health provider on site. I'd love to have some of that like medical people working there every day, while also like just being a community space for people just to like, if they like to draw or like literally whatever they'd like, we'd have a space for them. And I think it'd be really cool if we could be self-sustaining. So like maybe open a coffee shop or a bakery or something like that. So we're also like bringing revenue in. We're not like, I don't know. I struggle with like the idea of like fundraising for money.
Yeah.
I think it'd be more fun if we could like create a business, and then if they want to work there, they could work there.
Of course.
Whatever that would look like. That's a massive dream.
Yeah.
And if I could even get a small fraction of that accomplished in my life, I'd be thrilled.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
a good dream.
Thanks.
I like it. Okay, and the last question, what message do you want to leave for the people you love?
I think the message I want to leave is enjoy every moment with the people you love. And I just always want to be present and just making sure that the people that I'm around know how much I care about them and know how much I value them. And I think in my line of work, there's a lot of death, and it's just really taught me that it's best if we just utilize every moment we have together and make it the best one yet. And so that's my goal for myself. And I also I want to leave those for the one I love, is like really enjoy time spent with your friends and your loved ones and make every moment count.
Okay. Thank you for your time. And yeah, I hope your dreams come true.
Thank you, Oscar. Thanks for having me on here in the first person. I feel honored.
I know. That's
Happy.
cool. Thank you.